Cameron Cross, a former US Army soldier with a past he'd like to forget if he could remember who and what he is. You see, Cameron was not just a soldier, he is also a cyborg. Now, Cameron and other soldiers volunteered for an experiment that the army conducted, and these soldiers were now controlled with a chip and stripped of their will and began committing atrocities on behalf of the army. One of these atrocities is when we see a high-ranking army officer giving orders to the cybernetic alpha platoon to wipe out an entire town, destroying every single building and killing every single person, including women and children. And at one point, during a mission, an EMP blast fried Cameron's chip, finally freeing him from the army's control, but now he has amnesia. At the beginning of Across to Bear, we see that Cameron doesn't remember who he is or what he is, and we see that there seems to be some sort of electric current flowing through him. As he is walking, minding his own business, he decides to get involved in a situation where these two thugs are trying to rob a woman, and Cameron pretty much decides to kick their asses after they try to take his cross necklace. The police soon arrive because of reports about a fight breaking out, and the two thugs run away, and Cameron then begins to walk away as well. The cops tell Cameron not to move, and it triggers him. Cameron yells that he doesn't take orders from the officer and charges at one of the cops, assaulting him as a result. Now, Cameron gets tasered and is now unconscious and transported to the hospital. And at the hospital, Cameron's former handlers, these dudes in Men in Black, if you will, they tell McDavis that, basically they'll be taking over Cameron's case. And Cameron uses this opportunity, since Mick and the handlers are outside the room talking, to make his escape by jumping from his window. Cameron then heads to a nearby church where he finds some clothing, and he gets on his knees, starting to talk to God, pleading with God to remember who he is. And the last panel we see is, we see a figure, likely the pastor of the church, looking at Cameron. And that's where this short story ends. This one felt like it was told pretty quick, right? Pretty straightforward and pretty quick, unlike I believe it's the story that Mahler wrote. That one's very dialogue heavy, but that's another story, so I'll leave that for another time. Now, Cameron, he will be on the road to redemption, right? He wants to remember who he is, but when he remembers what he's done, we know he won't like what he finds, and I want to see how he handles his dark past. I want to see how he becomes a hero, because personally I think he'll become a hero and not a vigilante like Horseman. I can see the army calling in the other cyborgs to bring him in, and after all, they can't have one of their experiments running around, especially with the atrocities they have committed, and for sure they don't want people finding out about them. So no doubt they will try and hunt him, and who knows, Mick might even call in the Alpha Corps to assist, right? I'm very curious to see where Cameron's story goes, and I hope that we do get a full book. This character from the Saints and Sinners book. This is actually the character whose book I want to see, as soon as possible, right? And one of the other things I wonder is, has he ever crossed paths with Hector while Hector was in the army? That would actually be interesting to me. Who knows, Hector might even find out that there's a cyborg running around, and he might know of the these horrible things that these cyborgs have done, and now might feel like he has a duty to bring this loose cyborg down, right? There's a lot of possibilities where this can go, and I for one cannot wait. If you stayed until the end, I really do appreciate it. I'm going to be making, content talking about the Rippaverse. So, if you're interested, go ahead and, subscribe, right? Like the video if you liked it. I guess dislike it if you didn't. Do appreciate it, y'all. See you guys in the next one.